up, YouTube? Topaz Yates back for another album review, and this one is to that Mary J. Blige, Strength of a Woman, and I'm giving this one the high-end yellow light because it's solid. What she's ultimately doing here is going back to her strengths on how she ultimately came up, which is that heartbreak hip-hop / R&B that she does so phenomenally and such. Historically speaking, it's when she goes outside of this realm, like when she begins to be happy in her relationships. As much as I hate to say it, that's when her music tends to take a dive. And for the most part, when she steps outside of her own lane of that genre, then the music ultimately collapses for the most part, because there is an exception on this project, man. But yet, as she's coming back to this, it ultimately comes off rather solid. One of the better projects that she had in quite some time. But let's break these tracks down, man, starting with my favorite ones off of this entire project, starting with Love Yourself, which the smartest thing that she did on that one is getting Kanye West for it, because if there's anybody who loves himself, it would be Kanye West. He's made songs about Kanye loving Kanye. Though in the fact that that production is rather solid and the concept of it was cool, even though it's cliche. People have been saying this for quite some time, and she just so happened to make her own variation of you got to love yourself before you can love anybody else. But just because it's cliche doesn't mean it's untrue, doesn't mean that this isn't something that people shouldn't follow, man, because this is something that I see all the time, especially with women and all that. Like, they too hung up on their own flaws. I've come up to some women and such, man, where you can come up and tell them how beautiful they are and want to get with them and all that, and then they gonna look at you crazy because they have these self-insecurities about themselves, and they ultimately ruin anybody's opportunity of getting at them. So this is just real talk, man. You honestly have to love yourself before you can let anybody else in to see who you really are. My next favorite song is that You Plus Me, where this one was pretty interesting because what she's ultimately talking about is a relationship that she had where things just fell apart, but yet she's so blinded by the love that she had for this individual that she ultimately couldn't see the signs that this individual just really wasn't for her. How she would put maximum effort in for this relationship, but yet really didn't get that to come out of it. And that's just some real talk. Like, sometimes you get sucked too deeply into a relationship, into liking some person in which that person may not even be right for you. But in the end, you got to use that as a lesson so you know next time. It's just sadly, most people, they fall for the same things over and over and never learn from anything. And that's something that she's ultimately telling people. She's telling you to learn from your mistakes so you don't have to do this again. My next favorite song was that Indestructible, where what she's ultimately talking about here is the baggage that you get from relationships as they go. Like, you end up dealing with somebody who did you really wrong, but because they did you wrong, you're always going to be using that against the next people that come up, in which these people aren't even guilty of that yet, but you're treating them as if they are. And yes, this is something that a lot of people need to get over, because when you start holding people accountable for something that somebody else did, you'll never find anybody for you. And this song, I really liked it. I liked the production. I liked everything about it. It's highly comparable to that Weeknd featuring Kendrick Lamar, that Sidewalk song. It definitely has that same feel to it, but it got a different twist as well. So I honestly accept it for what it is, but I still got to point that out. And my last favorite song was that Find the Love, in which this song right here is that one exception where she can go outside of the hip-hop / R&B genre and actually do something dope here, as this one has more of a funk feel to it. As this song is more about the happiness she's having as she's going towards a new relationship, because the last one got stale, and you know, there's that excitement of going out there to meet new people and actually try to find somebody right for you, and she's expressing that emotion throughout this track, and it really works. I really love that production. I love that whole energy here. But yet, with every quality song, man, there's songs with issues on this project, man. Some of them really ain't even the song's fault, because there's some solid songs on here that just don't measure up to the good songs on this. Like those songs It's Me and Survivor. Like, honestly, there's nothing really bad about those. It's just they're not of the same quality of these 4 songs that I really did love. But then you got some songs with some key issues that's wrong with it, man. Like that Glow Up with Missy Elliott, Quavo, and DJ Khaled is on there for some reason too. Where this song is her more trying to do music geared towards the commercialized trap and all of that, man, in which that can be a variation of the hip-hop R&B side that she's always been known for, but yet it just does not work out. Then you got songs like Set Me Free and Thank You, where she's going away from the hip-hop R&B and trying to do more ballad of blues and all of that, dude. And quite honest with you, she just ain't got the voice to do that anymore. There was a point in time where she could, but those days are well past her. Her voice isn't like it used to be, and that's honestly what you need for those types of songs. And that's why those songs were fundamentally flawed and all that, man, but still a solid project that I recommend people to go ahead and buy some individual songs off of there and peep it on out. Simply put, this is some of the best Mary J that we've heard in quite some time, and she honestly have redeemed herself from the whole statements that she had during the election where she was singing for Hillary Clinton and all of that nonsense. And that's why I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. But a quick recap here, man. The positives that I'm taking from this is that she's getting back to doing what she's best at. And the negatives is you're not getting too much of that, man. She's definitely still dwindling away from it a bunch, but yet still a solid project. But this concludes today's review, man. And now we're going to jump to a brief instrumental from underground producer Paul Henry before we jump into the news and then jump to an article from downloadpads.com. So have you guys seen that Beyonce is putting together a $300 project as it's the limited edition of this lemonade right here, where what it ultimately is going to have is a 600-page coffee book, and then it's going to come with a vinyl. It's like the only type of hard copy of that project, and she's selling it for $300. And this is something that I've been telling people for quite some time. Like, everybody wants to say, oh, nobody wants to do the Nipsey Hussle or sell $100 projects and all that, man, when honestly, everybody is doing it. Like, Beyonce is now doing it. There's a lot of money on the table if you are already popular and you can go ahead and pull that off. And that's why I felt as though Kendrick should do it. Now, am I saying that I'm going to buy a $300 or $100 project? Nah. But we all know that there are people out there who have this kind of money that's going to go out there and buy this off the strength of just the love for Beyonce. So why leave that money on the table? But anyway, on to today's article from downloadpads.com. And today's article was about standing out. And this is an important thing whenever you do anything in life, man. Like, you honestly want to plan it enough that you can stand out amongst your competition, because this is something that everybody needs. Because everything that you do, odds are there's somebody out there who's doing it, who may be doing it better, who honestly is more popular than what you are. So if you try to do the same exact thing as that individual is doing, then all people are going to do is try to compare you to them. But yet if you are completely unique amongst what you're doing and standing out amongst everybody, then honestly you'll have your own lane and people cannot compare you, people can't take away from you. This is one of those key things that you need to be planning for from the beginning. Like, before you even hop up in any industry that you decide to do, you got to be asking yourself, how is this different than what everybody else is doing? And the answer can't be it's just you. And this is why it's different. Like, you have to actually be able to point at something and say, this is my market that I'm doing that nobody else is doing. This is why this is different from everybody else. And that will take you a lot farther. If you jump into something without doing this, then you might honestly be wasting your time. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpads.com, that's down there, to read today's article.